This is part 2 of Drawing 5 tutorial. Part 1 walked you through getting started in the metric document and creating the basic shape. Alright, now we're going to add in some of the details. There are two different heights. There's a section that's cut out on the front. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. I'm going to work from the back corner of my drawing. I'm going to grab the pencil tool here, and I'm going to work out from the back corner. Now, looking at the image, we can see that it's dimensioned 10 millimeters to that notch and an additional 20 millimeters to the edge of this face. So we need to add these two dimensions together to get the total width of this back piece, which is going to be 30. So I'm going to go back to SketchUp. I'm going to create my line 30 millimeters by keying in 30, enter. I'm going to find the end point of that line and come across the surface and come to the opposite edge. Now, if we go back to the image, we can see that this is lower by a distance that's kind of unknown right now. We know the overall height is 40, so we have to kind of look around for the dimension that tells us how wide this piece is. If we look down here in the corner, it gives us a dimension of 20. So we know the thickness of this plane is 20 millimeters. So if I come back to my image, and just to verify, the overall height is 40. So that helps me identify we're going to bring this surface down a distance of 20 millimeters, and we're going to remove that section. That's going to get us started for the lower half. Now on the back section here, there is a cutout, and we need to do that one before we can extrude through the front face. So looking at this, we're going to look at this back piece of detail. We see that it is 40 millimeters wide, and it extends through the entire back part of that drawing. Now, there is no center point identified, but in this drawing, these features are off of center. So the center point of this would be at the 20 millimeter mark, which would be the middle right there. So the first thing that I'm going to need to do is identify the center of the back part of this feature. We know the overall width of that is 70, so that means half of 70 would be 35. So I'm using the tape measure tool to give us a reference mark 35 millimeters in from one edge. If I measure to verify, it's also 35 from the other point, so that way we know we're halfway. Now I'm going to use the pencil tool, and we're going to sketch out this feature. Now we know that that feature is at a depth of 10, and we see that dimension here. It is 10 millimeters deep, 40 millimeters wide, and it spans the entire depth of the project. So I can come back here. Now, if the overall width is 40, that means half of it is going to be 20. So I'm going to come out 20 millimeters, hit enter. This is going to be the end of that feature. So I'm going to click, drag back in. We identified a depth of 10, so we can click 10, enter, and we can come all the way across for a distance of 40 and back to the front. Now that we've got this piece sketched out, we can use the push-pull feature, select that box, and drag that feature through the entire drawing. Now we've got one of the pieces of detail in the drawing. If we go back here, now we see there's also a cutout on the front face. So now we're going to identify where that piece goes, and we're going to cut that out of our drawing. Now the width of this is at 30 millimeters, and it comes to a depth of 15. So I'm going to go back to my image. Again, we're working from the center point. So here's the center point of my piece. If it's a width of 30, that means half of that is 15. So I'm going to select my pencil tool and pull out a distance of 15 millimeters. This is going to be the corner of that feature. So I can click on that corner. I'm going to drag down, make sure I'm on the blue axis here so that the line is going straight down, and that goes down to a depth of 15. And I can drag that line over. Now I can go all the way to the opposite edge to a distance of 30 millimeters and come back up to the front face. Once you get this component sketched in, we can use the push-pull tool to drag that piece all the way out. Now, it's important that you do these two steps in the order in which we've done them. We extruded the larger piece out first and then the smaller piece out second. Had you tried to extrude this first piece out first, you would have had a conflict and it wouldn't have been able to pull the larger piece down because it would have been missing some of that material. So, part of understanding SketchUp is also understanding the order in which you need to put these details into the drawing so that the program will work for you. All right, that's where we're going to finish tutorial part 2. Tutorial part 3 will finish the front part of the drawing.